Are we live? Is this thing working? It's been a while. Check, check. Is it working? Is it working? You guys tell me how the audio and video is, except this extremely ugly guy in the middle of your screen. Oh my gosh, how has everyone been? Let me see. Things are a little different here. And let me see how it works. Hey, Addie. And let me see. It has been a crazy day, which just fits a crazy 15 years of invisible people. So 15 years ago today, I uploaded our first invisible people video to YouTube. So I started early this morning and I dedicated the whole day to produce the show and share some highlights that you may or may not have known about what we do. And I only got to like 5 years. There's so much, especially in the early years, that we're probably, if you guys are up to this, we're probably going to have to do a series like, 5 years, 5 years, 5 years. And oh my gosh, so like at 4:45, it's 17 after 5. I'm sorry for being late. I was not even close to finish and I still had to shower. So that's why my hair is still wet, is the show must go on. And Cherry, yes, it was. It's interesting since you brought that up. 15 years ago, you couldn't upload a video over 10 minutes. And one of the things you guys changed is you wanted longer videos, you wanted longer uploads. And here, let me adjust this a little. You wanted longer uploads. And back then, I wasn't able to do it. People actually complained, like, why are you not, uploading longer videos? Because I couldn't. There's no way to do it back then. And oh my gosh, I mean, everything's changed. Yeah, if I had more time, I would. Let me see. This will drive me crazy if I don't do something. Yeah, I gave all kinds of. Uh-oh, no, 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 no. That is not good. I'm not going to mess with this. So what I did is I spent all the time working on archive stuff. So as you can see, there was a glitch there. I might have a bad cable and I am not going to mess with it. So I don't want any, but it's driving me crazy. Like the picture, the camera's not level, and we're just going to make it work. We're just going to make it work. So a little known secret, and I wish I had done, I put the order of the show quick. And now that I think about it, I wish I had done it maybe in a different way. And that is to explain more about socks. But right here, this right here is a YouTube sock. Get it? YouTube sock. And what is really cool is this is how it all started. So let me see if I'm going to skip around the presentation I made. I think you guys can follow along. So this is a YouTube sock. And we'll just start off with the socks. It wasn't where I was going to start off, but I think it's important part of the story. I just have to find, where are they? Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? And maybe, I mean, we've got, hopefully you brought snacks because this is probably going to be a long show. I really chocked a lot of stuff in here. Okay, here we go. So years ago, these are actual bags of socks that I used to get. I used to get them from bowling alleys. So interesting enough, here in California, like a lot of people wear flip flops, and you can't go bowling in flip flops. You have to rent shoes. So the bowling alleys have these socks, and you wear them one time, and they would put them in a bag, and through a connection, they gave me socks. This is how I first got socks many, many years ago when I first started. I had no money. I just knew homeless people needed socks. And fast forward to today, this is actually the first shipment of socks that Haynes sent me. This is a 2009 road trip. This is the first shipment that they ever sent. And now we've given, millions of pairs away, and masks. We did 1 million masks when COVID hit. But it all really started, YouTube anyways. So a little inside baseball behind the scenes is that I started Invisible People probably maybe a few weeks before today, November 26th. And I went to an event. I went to a nonprofit event, and YouTube had a table, and they had YouTube socks on the table. And I started talking to the person because I was after socks. I really wasn't after trying to get on YouTube. I just wanted socks, more. And I thought YouTube socks were great. I mean, how cool is it that, I'd be going around handing out YouTube socks, right? And it's just amazing that person actually talked me in to using YouTube. And let me show you something else since we're here. And what's really cool, they have these in grocery stores. So I don't know if they still have it, but in the YouTube lobby, they had, the machine, you put the quarter in and the claw comes down. So this is me with YouTube socks in front of YouTube headquarters. And I thought a great day, a great way to start this 15-year anniversary video is by telling you how first got on to YouTube with YouTube socks. Hey, Lady T, you know what? I haven't talked to you guys in a long time, so please forgive me. I was off to the races. I've been working since 9 this morning, trying to find old photos and old videos and putting them in some kind of sequence. And so that, we could have some show. I think I saw Matthew. Addie is our moderator extraordinaire. Where's everybody from? And I thought I saw Matthew in there a second ago. I like the name John's Broken Hand Trumpet. So let me say hello to everybody before we jump in. Hey, Jason. Hey, Crystal. Hi, Emily in Arkansas. Hey, Tony Lee, Marco Polo. Thank you for the kind words. Hey, Dylan. Hey, Miguel. Colin, Ottawa. Joanne, Loretta, Sugar Sore. Wow, from all over. Let me see. Thunder Bay. I love Canada. One of the reasons is it has these great names like Thunder Bay. I mean, if you lived in Saskatoon, how could you? I mean, I live in Saskatoon. They even have a town, Wawa. Thunder Bay. I've been to Thunder Bay, and I just every time I'm there, I want to say Thunder Bay. Oh my gosh. I don't know how good the video quality is. I should have upped it a little. Sorry, guys. Um, and how about I take you back to the beginning of Invisible People. So I, as you know, was homeless. I rebuilt my life back to a 3-bedroom house, new car, uh, cushy marketing job. And in '08, the economy tanked and I lost everything again. So right around 19 months of unemployment, not consecutive unemployment. Like I would get a job, work for a couple of months, get a job, work for a couple of months, and then I would, get laid off. And it was a real scary time. I didn't know what was going to happen. And all I had was this dinky camera under my arm. I think it's like a $250 Canon from Best Buy, and an iPhone. And back then, I think it was, I don't know if it was an iPhone 4. I mean, it didn't have video yet. So it was very early, and I took $45 and I registered invisiblepeople.tv and paid for some service space. And I went out and I started interviewing homeless people. And this is John. John is the first person I interviewed on Hollywood Boulevard. Now, you have to remember, I almost didn't do it. I almost didn't do Invisible People because I come from a television production background, and video has to have B-roll and video has to have music and it needs to be edited and it should be perfect. But I couldn't edit the video. At the time when I lost my house to foreclosure, I lost my Avid editing workstation. And an Avid, if you do not know, was what back then everybody edited TV shows on. So I had no way to edit the video. Now computers are a lot different. Hard drives are a lot different, but there was no way that I could edit the video. So I almost didn't do it. For a week, I had the idea, and for a week I went, nobody's going to watch this raw and unedited. Nobody's going to watch this. Nobody's going to watch this. And the idea was in me, but I couldn't. I just kept on putting up all these roadblocks. And I got to listen to myself because I'm going through some challenges right now. And I'm speaking to me right now, is that, when you're looking at the problem, when you're always looking at the problem, and back then I was facing homelessness, going into homelessness a second time, it was pretty scary. It's a serious problem. And I didn't have any way to edit video. That's another problem. And that's all I could focus on. I did not think about any solutions. And one day I went, you know what? Nobody's going to watch this stuff. I uploaded it raw, unedited, and that was the magic. That was the magic that attracted people to Invisible People content. And so I went to Santa Monica, and let me paint this picture here. These are some early interviews that I did in Santa Monica. And let me paint the picture, because at the time I was unemployed, I had no income. I was crashing back into homelessness. I had been homeless, so I knew what it was like. And I kept questioning myself, what the heck am I doing? Because when I was out interviewing people, it was scary. It was emotionally frightening for me to go and interview people. It was like I just kept on asking myself, what the heck am I doing? But I kept on doing it. This is Mark. And there's a neat backstory, is that Mark was running around this area of lawn with his shirt off, and he looked kind of crazy. And I didn't approach him because he looked like he could be dangerous. And so I like would walk, but keep him in the corner of my eye, like, because there was something really interesting about him. And I had maybe 2 or 3 interviews up. I had no real knowledge of what I was doing. Now I have protocols to make sure nobody gets hurt. And it was really, really, Mark was scaring me flat out. He was scaring me, right? I finally got up the nerve to walk up and ask him his story. And he was a banker. And the reason he was walking around and why his shirt was off, it rained the night before. He was taking his clothes and putting them out to dry. So I interviewed Mark, and he is a banker. And about 10 years ago, he reached out to me. He was in Hawaii. He was doing good. So I interviewed him, and this is the first nugget that could be success, right? That like something is going to happen here, right? I'm unemployed. I have no income. I think I'm crazy going around going around interviewing homeless people. Just crazy, crazy, crazy to be doing this, especially when I'm so close to homelessness myself. And I interviewed Mark. I put up his video, and there was a German blog. There's some blog in Germany that embedded the video, and it got like 5,000 views. I mean, at the time, even now, 5,000. I mean, this is homelessness. We're not like one of those other channels that's doing sensationalizing negative for views, right? We're trying to educate the public on homelessness. And that was my first real sign that maybe you're onto something. And this is Woody. And why I bring up Woody, that's the same period, right? Same Santa Monica. And what was interesting, and again, I'm unemployed, but Woody needed a blanket. And I learned something by interviewing him, is that, he told me he needed a blanket before the interview. And in my mind, I knew I was going to open my wallet and give him money to go buy a blanket. I knew it, but I didn't do it before the interview. And I think this is important here, because once you pay somebody, it's acting. Right now, for our mini documentaries, when we ask for a release, we pay people a day rate, what a house person would make for a day rate. But Invisible People, this kind of content is news. And I really learned something from Woody here, that for Invisible People to keep its integrity, to keep the stories real and honest, is that we will help people, we will compensate them, but it is not a condition of their interview, right? I think that's really important, and that's what Woody taught me. And then Los Angeles Fire Department, right? These guys aren't just getting cats out of trees, right? Los Angeles Fire Department, Mark, you humble us to the point our eyes leak. You're among the greatest examples that any of us can follow. And please, I'm not patting myself on the back. I have an iPhone, a $200 camera, and I'm just out interviewing homeless people. And it's making a difference. And these are signs, right? So I know most of you, there's some of you that are hurting. And gosh, I feel for you. But there's many of you that have resources. And you can go out and influence change. I mean, if I was able to do all this with $45 and an iPhone, oh my gosh, can you imagine what you can do? So that is why I'm showing that slide. And here, this is Viper. And I've got to look at the chat real quick because Viper actually might be watching. I do not know. But it was on one of these live chats recently. So when I interviewed Viper on Hollywood Boulevard, so right now everything's Los Angeles. I'm not traveling yet. So when I interviewed Viper on Hollywood Boulevard, she had a catheter. And because she had a service animal, they wouldn't allow her into shelters. It's, stuff like that continues today, right? Shelters often do the best they can, but they're also horrible places. Anyways, the reason, I'm so excited. The reason is, and Viper sent me this about 2 months ago. So she was watching, we used to do live streams all the time. And, I remember her, I interviewed her a bunch of times, but I mean, look at the difference. Oh my gosh. This is what housing can do, folks. This is how we solve homelessness. Now, Viper's blind from her health conditions. She's definitely much better than she was. But I mean, unbelievable life change. So at the time, like I said, I would get a job and lose a job and get a lot job and lose a job and get a lot job and lose a job. And I took a job at a homeless shelter just for the winter shelter, right? So, oh God, there's so much that I could have, because there was a blog post at Mashable. If you're not aware, Mashable is one of the online media publishers, news publishers that was focusing on social media and technology at the time. And Mashable did a story about me because using Twitter, because at this time, social media was brand new. It was fun. I mean, social media now, there's still some magic left, but back then it was wonderful. We were all social media explorers. Yeah, back then we didn't even use the word influencer, right? But it was just so amazing. So for like the next 10 years, there was no money for invisible people, right? There was, so I always had to have some other kind of job. And at this particular point in my life, which was 2009, this is still early 2009, I got a job at a homeless shelter for the winter shelter. And dig this, it's so crazy. You guys got to pay attention. This is, oh my gosh. My job was that tent, that porta potty, and that parking lot. Let me repeat. My job was that tent, that porta potty, and that parking lot. So over to the right is an armory. And for whatever reason, this is the winter shelter. So cities around the country, when weather starts getting cold, they start opening up like National Guard armories. So this is that, but the Glendale Armory was close. They were remodeling the floor. So they had to bus people to the Burbank Armory. So my job was to keep the peace under this tent with all these homeless people that would come, and to manage it, if you will. I'm supposed to not allow people to smoke cigarettes. Of course, no drinking, no partying, no fighting, no, all the no's, right? And that was my job every night to make sure this parking lot was like civilized, if you would. And every night, the bus would show up, or two buses. Well, it would take about an hour, and then the other bus would have to come back. Tempers would fly if it was raining. On top of that, you can't take your stuff, right? People got bags of stuff, and there was no way you could fit it on the bus. And if you've ever seen a school bus, I didn't have time to actually add this a photo of this, but there was I had one of the back of the school bus. And that was my job, right? To keep peace, to you know, keep the parking lot orderly. And this is it, right? This is the parking lot. I mean, around when it got cold, and then like on Christmas and different things. Oh my gosh. I got to tell you that so I'm going to let me tell you the story of Mary. And we, or not we, I, will have to do a more, produced or involved. I mean, a lot of this, and if you guys aren't digging it, I'm sorry. This show's for me, right? 15 years of doing this. This is pretty amazing. Mary was an older homeless woman. She was so ornery, and every store, every restaurant in Glendale had a restraining order on her. What Mary used to do is Mary would eat half her sandwich, and she had mental illness, and then she would take her sandwich and put it in her shopping cart, half of it, and then it would rot and get diseases. And like her shopping cart was, oh my gosh, it was dangerous, but she wouldn't leave her shopping cart. And I remember once, it was Christmas Eve, me and my coworker, we had a rule: nobody sleeps out on Christmas Eve. And we got garbage bags, and we put gloves on, and we loaded her shopping cart into the van, and we took her to the armory to make sure she was inside. But one time I got this call that from a Catholic church to come get Mary out of it. And it really messed me up. So I went to the church, and Mary was inside. I was able to talk. There was a, Saturday service going on, and I was able to talk her into going outside. And I'm a Christian. I faith-based. I'm not your evangelical Christian. I believe that we serve God and worship God through action. And Mary looked at me and she asked, "Where's God?" Because I had to remove her from the church. And I couldn't explain it to her. And when I got in my car to leave, I was in shock. It was really, really scary. And sorry, people, I see there's mid-roll ads in there, and I selected the wrong button. I would never do that to you guys. Little ad at the beginning and maybe some banner stuff, that's fine. So I apologize. YouTube came up and said, "Hey, we'll take it from here," and it's like, "Oh yeah, auto. Let's put it on automatic," and I won't do that again. So please just click through the rates, the mid-roll ads, if you will. And what's so great about this photo is the woman in the bottom left. And I have hundreds of stories. I might get emotional here. And Rosie is one of my favorites. And the reason was, and she's the only marriage proposal I've gotten in 15 years. Rosie was after me nonstop, trying to get me to marry her. Nonstop. I mean, she was aggressive, right? And I once asked her why. And her response was, "Because I have an apartment." Anyways, I have one old video of Rosie singing to me back then that I just have to play.
You said it was dry over here.
What did you just sing?
Sing it again, Rosie. Come on.
Come on,
We like it.
I'll give you a hug.
I can't take my eyes off of you.
Come here.
Oh, I miss Rosie. She, I am going to get emotional. She passed away steps away from the homeless shelter. Steps away. I don't know if the shelter was closed. I didn't work there at the time. I just heard about it. But homelessness is horrible. Homelessness is horrible. So at this time, I started experimenting with social media and gift in kind. And for our 20-year anniversary, I'll do this. So there was an artist, and it was so silly, $3 million. Some of you might remember it. There was an artist that put yellow umbrellas up the 5 freeway, the Grapevine in the hills, right? So as you're going to Magic Mountain up there, you look on either side of the freeway, there's these giant yellow umbrellas. Cost $3 million. If you think I'm making it up, Google it. It's the truth. So this is Mark's version of that. So thanks to all of you. You guys have been wonderful supporting invisible people over the years. But thanks to all of you, I was on a mission to turn Los Angeles yellow. So that whole winter season, I was giving out rain ponchos to all the homeless, wherever I would drive. If somebody was handing out food in Venice, I was like, "I got rain ponchos for you." If somebody's handing out food in the valley, I'm like, "I've got rain ponchos for you." And my whole thing was to turn Los Angeles yellow by keeping homeless people dry. Pretty cool. So back then, again, it was a temp gig, right? I know I'm going to get fired at some point. And back to the Mashable piece. And I wish I had more time because I would have put it in. But the Mashable story was 5 people that risked their job using social media and won, right? I think that was the title. And I was number 1. So at the time, again, I'm a temp worker. So my boss called me in. They were like crazy that I was tweeting out stuff, sharing stuff. And that, like, for instance, there'd be a shortage of pillows. And I would share, could you imagine going to bed without pillows? And what I'm trying to do is get you guys to empathize, to care, but people in the homeless sector took it as, oh, you can't let people know we run out of pillows. No, if you don't have money, you run out of pillows, right? We ran out of a lot of stuff. Anyways, so her name is Natalie. She ended up becoming a very big part of Invisible People. And she called me into her office, and unbeknownst to me, the mayor of Santa Monica and a CEO of another large nonprofit had, put her up or giving her the instructions to get me off social media. So I said, well, you know what, Natalie, this is my phone. It's not a company phone. If you're concerned about the time, well, I get 2 breaks and a half an hour lunch. That's when I'm sharing. And I said, if you're going to fire me, I'm laid off in a month. It's a temp job. Fire me today, right? You're going to end up firing me in 30 days because it's a temp job. And I said, but Natalie, here's the thing. No homeless person has complained. And she signed up for Twitter. That very moment, she signed up for Twitter. And that was just brilliant. And the reason at that particular time, this is, again, I think there was a big storm last year too. And, for 6 years, I lived up with my mom taking care of her. But this is 2009, and it was like monsoon rain. It was like nasty rain here. And if you're not aware, the winter shelters are closed during the day. So every morning they kick people out into the rain, and nobody would open them up. It's the National Guard Armory, except Governor Schwarzenegger. He was in charge. So this might have been the one video I did that has had the most tangible, immediate impact. So I grabbed the camera and I stood in front of the armory. Go. I'm standing in front of the Glendale Winter Shelter. Around the December, January, February, Los Angeles, the National Guard opens up the armories so homeless people have a shower, a hot meal, and cots to sleep on. But during the day, they're kicked outside. We're having some of the worst weather that I've seen in my 26 years here in Los Angeles. Freeways have actually closed today because of flooding. The rain has been going for a couple of days. However, the powers that be, the people that make the decision to leave these open during the day, decided on Friday, today's Sunday, it was raining yesterday, raining today,
decided on Friday not to have a meeting until Monday to open them Tuesday morning. Now, those same people live and work here in Los Angeles, or some of them. And obviously, they look out their window or drive their car, or turn on the news. They see that this rain is just crazy. But this morning, yesterday morning, and tomorrow morning, approximately 600 homeless people were exited from the armories. This is crazy. When the winter weather comes like this, or the bad weather, the rain, the emergency system should automatically open these doors so the people have somewhere to stay. Now, if you don't see the compassion side of that, remember when a homeless person gets sick and they go and they use emergency medical services, you're the ones that are paying for those services. It's so much. That armory is still being heated. There's no extra cost except for a couple of minimum wage staff and some food in the afternoon to keep those doors open. But again, this morning, yesterday morning, and tomorrow morning, 600 people were thrown outside into this rain. And that's just not acceptable. I would really, really love the people that make those decisions to respond to this post, to respond to this video, and let us all know why they kicked 600 people out into the rain yesterday morning, this morning, and tomorrow morning.
So that video went all the way to Governor Schwarzenegger. Somebody played it for him. And a CBS News anchor confirmed that with me. And Governor Schwarzenegger opened up the armories for that rainy period. And that's just amazing. Amazing. Hey, thank you guys. $75. Thank you. I know times is tough, right? Oh my gosh, individual donations are dropping. Their donors are disappearing. Gas prices are going up. We got 2 wars going on. I get it. People just don't have the money to give. So don't feel bad if you don't have the money to give. If you do, our work is needed more than ever. The negative on homelessness is getting worse. The 2024 election season is coming. The value of independent news. We're a news publisher. We do documentaries. We do lots of cool stuff. We have reached in the last 15 years billions of people, educating them on homelessness. So hey Matthew, thank you. You've always been such a great supporter. Thank you, Matthew. And if you can give, please do. And if you can't, we love you. Totally understand. The time is tough. I mean, the world, we live in a tough time, I guess you'd say. Okay, so now we got a decision, because I found an old video. It was right around that time. And Ford, so just so you guys know, like with Haynes and Ford, right? I since then, Ford has hired me as a consultant, and hey, Anonymous, thank you. And Ford is not Ford. Ford's never given us any money. Ford has lent us cars. So that's the case here. Ford was now what I'm doing is I'm trying to get the story of homelessness out to more people. So Ford, Thad, thank you for the $10. I am trying to get homelessness out to more people. So Ford lent me a Ford Fiesta right at that time, right when the armories. So I have a video. It's about 8 minutes that I can play of that time where I used the Ford Fiesta to go pick up homeless people in the rain. Do you want to see it? I can either play the video, gives me a little break. I can run to the bathroom. We're going to be here for a while, folks. Hopefully you don't mind. I mean, it's an anniversary show. They only come around once in a while. So Matthew says yes. If we get a couple more yeses, I will play it. And it's really we got we got a bunch. Okay, so this is the People's Fleet. It means a lot to me because I know all these homeless people and I miss them dearly. I really do. Let me see. Where is the People's Fleet? There we are.
Hi, I'm Mark from InvisiblePeople.tv and also Path Achieve Glendale. I'm so honored that the People's Fleet and Ford lent me this Ford Fiesta to drive around this week and literally help homeless people. Well, the last few days we've been having a battle to keep the National Guard armories open, and they just opened up. So I'm going to get in this car right now and go and pick up as many of our homeless friends as possible and get them into the dry shelter. It's like really crazy raining here in Los Angeles, and I'm being real honest. This is a small car. I feel really safe. You can see it's just nasty out. So right now I'm going to the first stop is to the library and some other places where I know people are hanging out. Let them know the word, and if they need, I'll take them one by one and drive them to the armory so that everybody gets inside and it's dry. I also have another emergency I might have to run to get homeless families some food that's staying in a hotel. But just as a typical day, homeless services. So I'm just leaving the armory. I stopped by real quick. There's some mix-up. Finally got the doors open. It's open. I'm going to now drive around and get people in here the best possible way that we can. So far right now, the only casualty is my lovely hair. You know, being Hollywood and all, it's all about your hair, what you drive, and your shoes. So at least I got a cool ride. Check this out. I've never had this feature in a car before. I've seen them like in, you know, those really expensive Mercedes, BMW thingies that nobody can afford, at least my friends. And so, you know, the key's in my pocket. That's my pocket. And that's the button right there that you push. Now watch. Cool. Isn't that cool? I really like it. Took me a couple times to get used to leaving the keys in the pocket. But so now we're going to go out and show you that feature. Now we're going to go out and help some homeless people get dry. Lanny, the shelter's open. You want to ride? Come on. Is it important that the shelters stay open during the day?
I think so, because it's going to be raining until Thursday.
Yeah.
I read the newspaper.
Well, guess what? We got them open tomorrow for you.
Oh, okay.
And we got them open. So let me give you a ride there now.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
There's three of my friends right there. So we're going to... Hey, you want to ride? Shelter's open.
All right.
Come on.
Yeah. I'm going to shelter.
So far, I picked up Lanny and Sean. Let a couple people know. I'm back out making rounds. Gonna pick up as many as I can. Drove up in the People's Fleet. You're great. You're great, Troy. Anyways, come on, guys. We got the armory. You know, you shouldn't be laying like this. I know it's raining. Come on. I know you did great. Come on, the armory's open. See,
All right.
yeah, come on. Yeah, and it's open the next 2 days. So Troy was on CBS, KABC. He's a regular rock star today. So here, check out the ride we got. So see, no, right there. Oh, you got the. Yeah, well, Ford lent us this car, lent Path Achieve Glendale to come around and help you guys.
Economic.
Well, yeah, it's good gas mileage and it's rocking cool. Come on, let's go. Okay. Cool. The rain has gotten worse and traffic has actually stopped. I had to stop doing picking up people because I have a homeless family that needs to be vouchered. So I'm running back to send a fax. This rain. And then there's some people there that are still under blankets under that church that I'll go and pick up. Now, are you just by yourself?
No, I'm bringing someone there.
Oh, you're bringing somebody here. So you're not the actual homeless person?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so you drive, take the 5 South to Colorado Boulevard, and it's on the right-hand side. The other Robin, went on vacation or something. So Christine gets the job, and we're going to go back out after fighting bureaucracy for the last half an hour, which is the fun part of homeless services. We're going back over to the church. I left a couple of people there. I told them I'd come back, but we had problems with this homeless family. So I had to run back to take care of that. The rain's getting worse. One thing when you're doing homeless services, it's really important to keep your word.
Get us out of the rain.
Come on.
I've been out in the rain for the last few days.
And you only
and
have
I'm
one.
tired of it.
And you only have one change of clothes.
Yep.
You're getting a ride.
Thank
I
you
came
so
back
much.
for you.
God bless you.
Thanks to the People's Fleet, letting me borrow the Ford Fiesta. We're, picking them up one at a time, 2 at a time, just making sure that they all get in here and someplace warm and dry. And thanks to all of you in social media, we're able to get this thing open for the next couple of days. Going back out, we're going to try to find some more people because when it's like this, they're under a nook and cranny and, hidden in some alley, and they don't want to come out. Like Cheryl, she said it was her last bit of dry clothes, so we want to get them here as best we can.
Path Achieve is a nonprofit homeless service agency operating in Glendale, California, and we offer a range of services and housing for people who are homeless. We're in the emergency housing program right now. We have a 40-bed shelter, and tonight we have the Self-Realization Fellowship Party, which is really phenomenal. They do this every year. We invite back folks who have stayed in the shelter who are now living in apartments in our transitional housing program. So we have kids who were here last year and remember this party well, and they're back. I have to say, that's a really cute car, and it's bright color, and I think it sort of is uplifting for people to get into something like that rather than the white van that we have been using.
The gas card doesn't hurt either.
Oh, no, it doesn't. We really appreciate that. Thank you, Ford.
I'm driving home, and I'm just exhausted. What a day. And when I got back to Path, and Path Achieve Glendale is, where I work, and Path Achieve is a homeless shelter that, has 40 beds, and literally 15 of those are usually kids under the age of 15. And tonight they were having a Christmas party. So everybody knows me, knows I'm not a big fan of Christmas, but I am a big fan of Christmas cookies. So, seeing all the kids doing the jingle bells and the hats and getting to eat all kinds of Christmas cookies was a marvelous night. So literally, the People's Fleet is what this campaign or project is called. Well, literally, the People's Fleet was used tonight to get homeless people out of this maddening rain into someplace safe and dry. So I want to thank. Hey, what'd you think? A day in the life of an outreach worker, and it gave me a little time to work on
the camera and the tech. So but what was interesting, and I will talk about it a little more, is when I go into the family stuff, which this would have been a great lead in or a segue. And there's also um, the um, the Christmas cookies, because I'm not a big fan of Christmas. However, I've been known. Oh, I'll do it. I'll do it later. So something else happened in that parking lot, and doing all this with Path Achieve is that people started donating, right? Just gift in kind from social media, the power of social media. I started learning that, people do care, right? And so on the left, that is scarves that students make. And on the right, it's bag lunches that students made. And this is two of my homeless friends in the parking lot sporting the model, and I love this photo. Oh my gosh, I love these photos because they're modeling the new scarves they got, which is just so much fun. I probably should go on to the families, but we're going to stick right with the winter shelter. Is that a video? Yes, it is. We don't want to do the video.
He's gone. He's gone.
No.
He's gone. He's out.
So one of the things that I did at the winter shelter is on Christmas, I catered the winter. Now, so you got to understand. So there's invisible people. That's us, right? Invisible people is you, me, us. And then I had a job as a case manager at the winter shelter. So when there was a need, right, I would go and do things like cater the winter shelter for like holidays. And, that was through invisible people. So this was just amazing. I catered a Christmas meal for everybody, thanks to you guys donating. There was a gift bag for everybody. Now, remember, I hate Christmas. And if I was going to really go into, I probably should do maybe a Christmas live stream, because working at the winter shelter on Christmas really changed me in many ways. But every one of these gift bags, of course, had socks, but they had a Carl's Jr. gift card and a bunch of other cool stuff. It was like, it was good stuff, right? It was good stuff. But the miracle, you guys all know who Richard Branson is, right? From Virgin. Well, Richard Branson's shoes joined us.
Smith picked Richard Branson, billionaire owner of Virgin Airways, who wants to take all of us into space someday and loves to tweet. When Smith tweeted she'd love to be in Branson's shoes for a day, to her surprise, he tweeted back and via YouTube told her his shoes were on the way.
The same day I received the shoes, Sir Richard Branson sent this tweet stating that I must wear them for a whole day. And I did wear them on Christmas Eve. I'm an esthetician and was very busy with facial clients that morning. NBC interviewed for a feature story that aired later that evening. I had a late lunch in Laguna Beach with friends. It was such a gorgeous day. Soon after, I headed to LA to meet with Mark Horvath of Invisible People.
Hi, everybody. Here we are at the Glendale Winter Shelter. And I got to be honest, I've been fighting back tears most of the night. There's 80 wonderful people here that wouldn't have gotten a nice Christmas meal, wouldn't have gotten, socks, and toiletries, gift cards, and all this other cool stuff in the gift bag.
It's just been such a pleasure to be a part of this and to give something back and do good. And that's what I really wanted, was inspired by the shoes to just really try to make a good day today.
And Richard Branson's just cool, flat out. But then Virgin, besides being cool, does a lot to fight youth homelessness. And Virgin Mobile, both in the U.S. and Canada, has helped invisible people over the last couple of years. So this was almost like a natural fit.
Yeah.
And, I've been saying for a while, hopefully you guys all followed that. So I was already catering the winter shelter, and my friend, she tweet, wonder what it's like to be in Richard Branson's shoes. And they literally, Richard Branson sent her shoes for a day. And she came and spent the Christmas Eve helping us help homeless people in Richard Branson's shoes. I mean, that is one. Now, so there's, we would be here for 15 years if I was to highlight everything that we were doing, because there's so much that invisible people did over the years. And I'm just bringing up a few of the favorites that I could find. I spent today doing this, but this is also the winter shelter, so it's only for 3 months, right? I got to paint the picture here. So the winter shelter is about ready to close. And I get this idea, what can I do? What can I do? I mean, this is just horrible. I mean, people got no place to go. This is their last night inside. And I get this idea, well, how about renting an ice cream truck? And you guys all made it happen. Like, I have done asks like for, stuff like that's really important. Not that ice cream isn't important. And it was hard to raise the money for. But for ice cream, man, people donated in 2 hours enough for me to rent an ice cream truck. And I literally provided, while you guys did, invisible people provided a free ice cream to everybody at the homeless shelter. And what's really neat here is that before the ice cream truck showed up, because everybody's going to be homeless again, before the ice cream truck showed up, tempers were flying. One guy even hit somebody else over the back of the head with a chair. It was just, just a bad night, right? Everybody was just in a bad mood. And when the ice cream truck showed up, everybody got their ice cream and went in and went to bed. It was amazing. But for some reason, and I don't know why, and I got so many stories, I don't even know how I can talk about all of them. But so I'm divorced with no goldfish. I have no kids. I'm divorced. And some reason, so the shelter ended up hiring me. They eventually hired me. And they allowed me to still do invisible people. I mean, it was a little over minimum wage. It wasn't a lot. It was enough to pay rent. And they allowed me to do invisible people. I mean, I could take a leave of absence where I wasn't getting paid, and then I could travel. But I was the family case manager. Why? I got no kids. Why they made me the family case manager, I do not know. But oh my gosh. And the stories, because it was my job to take them, because you saw how that winter shelter was. You can't have kids there. You shouldn't have humans there. I mean, it's just a big giant room with cots, right? Smells like butts and feet. If you've never been in a winter shelter, it smells like butts and feet. It's wonderful that people are inside, but it's also horrible because we should be treating people better. And it was my job to take the families and place them in hotels. And the only hotels were all the way in the North Hills, right? Which is about a 45-minute to an hour drive each way. So that was my job. And then they'd be in the hotels, and then I would, adopt the hotel. And in fact, at that particular time, there was a church that found out that I was going without food. So they bought me, Ralph's gift card. Ralph's is a grocery store here.
and I would give them to the homeless families, right? They need it more than me. And the church found out about it. So then the church started giving lots of gift cards in a smaller amount. So I would use a couple myself. But, taking the families grocery shopping and helping them, and at Christmas, I hate Christmas. I hate Thanksgiving. That's just me. I do not like the holidays. And this is a period of time where and I didn't have time. I got some of the photos, but I didn't have time to add them to the presentation because I was running late. But I would get trees for everybody. I would get gifts for it. Basically, I would turn that hotel where all these families are staying. And thanks to you guys, we helped one family, a mom with 4 kids, fly back to Atlanta. It was actually cheaper to fly them than to put them on a bus. That way the kids are not, 4 or 5 days on a bus. It just made more sense. And you guys all helped raise the money for it. And time and again, and time and again, and time and again, we, Invisible People, partnered with Los Angeles Homeless Services and helped homeless families. And this is one of my most cherished memories. And there's more photos, but I was running out of time. So I started putting them together. Literally, I started at 9 this morning, and I'm thinking I'm going to do all 15 years. I got 5 years. And even then, I still didn't have time to do it all. And then it got like 15 minutes before the live stream, and I hadn't showered. So I cut some corners here to get it up. Anyways, these are newborn twins from Guatemala. And the parents didn't speak any English, none, and they're homeless. So thank goodness there's this army gentleman who spoke Spanish. So he was able to converse and interpret for me a little bit. But for most of the time, he couldn't go to the hotel with us. He couldn't ride in the van with us. He could only speak at the armory, right, where they showed up, and then it's my job to get him out of there, right? And why this was such a powerful moment for me was it was nonverbal. So the mom didn't know who I was, and she probably thought, ICE or deportation, and immigration is a problem, right? It's a problem. These are humans, right? These are humans. They need help. Full stop. Anyways, what was so just amazing, like at day 1, the mom was scared of me, rightly so. But by day 3, she knew I was going to do something good for them. The mom knew that by day 3, the mom knew just by my actions, because she couldn't understand what I was saying, or I couldn't write anything either. She knew that I was there to help her. And so that just always really stuck with me. And a couple of quick stories that I was just going through photos, and they mean a lot to me. And I just, like I said, right, I'm hopefully you're getting some enjoyment out of this show, but I made this show really for me. They called him Dirty Dave. I would not say that. I loved Dave. He was amazing. You guys all helped me get a walker for him when he was outside. On the right, Dave is, he bought me breakfast. He did, right? He was homeless. And then on the left, he was in an apartment. We got him housed. But he kept on going back outside and going and partying and drinking. So thanks to all of you, we were able to get him a TV. Yeah, I don't even think you can get a TV like that anymore, right? And this is once you got him a TV, he stayed home. And this is really important. And I wish I could get every service provider, homeless service provider, to hear what I'm going to say now, because it is so very, very important. And I didn't do this one right. Did I not do this one right? So yes, okay, I'm up here, there. The best part of the job is this particular day, I was able to house 3 women. Now, it was the agency that housed them, but I was the worker who drove them to their apartments. This woman had been outside for 4 years living in a park. You wouldn't know it by looking at her, but she'd been homeless for 4 years. She was chronically homeless. And we put her in these boxes. Look at the apartment. It's bare. There's no bed. There's no forks. There's no shower curtain. There's no toilet paper. There's nothing. Nothing. And it's like the nonprofits, right? They're taking care of the hard part, which is the rent. But what I've learned, like you might have seen me talk about Lanny, is that when we house somebody, when we get somebody into housing, we need to make it a home. Like I just showed with Dave with the TV, we need to make it a home. So what I remember about this is this apartment building is right next to a grocery store, And as I'm leaving, she puts her foot in the door to stop me. And she says, "Will you take me for coffee?" Coffee's right next door. What she was saying is, don't leave me alone in this box. And it's so very important, because when a person has lived outside in a park, as she did for 4 years, and then you go and you put them in an apartment with no friends around, no community, right? It's a scary place. Now, thanks to all of you that support Invisible People, we went and bought beds. I bought beds for all those 3 women. Thanks to those that donate to Invisible People. We went and bought beds, and then we started furnishing their apartment. I mean, we've done that a lot. I mean, it's not, we don't do direct services. We're trying to change policy so that nobody is homeless. We're trying to change politicians. I mean, it's not as sexy as giving a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I mean, I wish we just did peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So easy to fundraise for, but we're trying to solve homelessness. I mean, yeah, I know I'm crazy. Why go big picture? It's harder to fundraise for. It's harder to do. Well, I was homeless myself, and I really want to solve homelessness. So let me go back to the main camera and look in the chat and see how y'all doing before I go on. Let me get another swig of water. How are you all? Wow, there's been 123 watching every time I look. Hey, Henry. Thank you, Barefoot. Hey, Bailey. I don't know if I'm a legend, but thank you. Henry, I don't know if I would do Joe Rogan. He's often negative. Sorry you were laid off. Hey, Lady T, thank you, thank you. Yeah, but Henry, I'm never going to change Joe Rogan. He's, trying to do it for views and downloads. He's after the sensationalism. In fact, I'm trying to do. I'm thinking about doing some videos about all the negative on YouTube. Sugar Soar, you're right. I have no idea what your point is, Max. Richard Branson, he does follow me on Twitter. That's amazing. And it was wonderful. He ended up making a donation to the homeless shelter. It was a marketing stunt. Yeah, Henry, I probably saw a little bit of that. Crystal, I do not know. I don't know where you are. Thank you, Black Dove. What's the blue glasses name? So these are iBobs. I get them from iBobs. I don't like the normal. Marco, being honest, we're cutting programs. Donations are down. I got to figure out a way of, for 10 years, we had no money. I finally built it up. And now our work is needed more than ever. I mean, the negative hundreds of millions of. So, okay, you guys probably, what would a 15-year stream be without a rant? So, right? And we haven't talked about this, so I'll give you a rant. And I'm going to cuss a little bit. Hopefully you don't mind. But this is like James Bond villain shit. I have to say that because it's so out there. There's a billionaire. His name is Joe Lonsdale. He invests in for-profit prisons. Joe Lonsdale started something called the Cicero Institute. The Cicero Institute is pushing template laws around the country to make homelessness illegal. They're actually winning. In Tennessee, it's a felony to be homeless. Yeah, that's right. It's a felony to be homeless. In Missouri, it's 15-day jail, $750 fine, or both. But the new law that the Cicero Institute was able to pass, the state cannot invest in housing homeless people. It can only invest in shelters. And shelters do not solve homelessness. The Cicero Institute is playing the long game, right? They want more crime. They want more. And literally hundreds of millions of dollars are going into saying the negative. I mean, I'm not going to call anybody out on this right now, but there's YouTube channels that are, getting millions and millions of views sharing negative on homelessness. And they're pushing for this criminalization. And it's really, really scary. And here we are, and our funding is down 36% from what it was last year. Every year I've been able to grow this so we can hire writers, we can do news, and we can do more. But this year we're having to pull back, which brings me to a good transition. I am going to kind of transition from the winter shelter to where I started to travel. And I cannot tell the story of invisible people without telling the story of Jennifer. I first met Jennifer at the winter shelter. She was pregnant in the winter shelter. And we had become friends. So the winter shelter closed. The winter shelter closes around March. And I went walking Hollywood Boulevard, and here was Jennifer out on Hollywood Boulevard, homeless, pregnant. So about 2 weeks later, and I was supposed to go to New York, and please, I'm not spooky. I'm not spooky, right? I'm not. This is not spooky. It's not. So 2 weeks later, I'm supposed to go to, next week, I'm supposed to go to New York City, but the guy that was bringing me to New York City had an accident, did something with his foot, so it got postponed another week. So let me just tee this up again, right? Jennifer's in the winter shelter. I would never interview anybody that I'm working as a client as the same, because I was case manager and invisible people. I wouldn't interview her. But now she's out of the winter shelter. Saw her on Hollywood Boulevard, Los Angeles, Hollywood Boulevard. I was supposed to go to New York the next week. Didn't happen. Got changed to the following week after. I am walking around 42nd Street, and it's about 9:30 in the morning, raining, cloudy. I turn the corner, and there's Jennifer. Why this matters is I was going to quit. I was literally, I even to this day, I'm grateful now that there's enough money to, help us grow, and, some, right, that I'm not unemployed anymore and I have health care. But even today, I rarely get time off. It's so hard. And what really bothers me is we are not able to reach our potential. Like I said, hundreds of millions of dollars are being spent on propaganda, and our work has never been more important. But I was ready to quit back then. I think about quitting a lot these days. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I see her on Hollywood Boulevard. And then what are the chances in New York City? So seeing Jennifer in New York City really, really, really kept me going. I was going to quit. I was totally going to quit. Around that time, I don't know if it was before or after. My timeline may be a little off. It's all in the history. This is my friend, and I had more to this story I could have put in. I'll verbally tell it, but I don't have the photos for the presentation. So Oprah had gone into Tent City in Sacramento. And if the Queen goes in, so does NBC and CNN and Fox and all the people, right? So I was sitting on my couch. I was 19 months unemployed, had $300 to my name. Rent was $1,200. Back then in Hollywood, that was like amazing to have rent $1,200. Those apartments probably go for $2,000, $2,500 now. I should have kept looking for work. I mean, the smart man would have kept looking for work. I have rent due. What am I going to do? But I turned on the TV and I saw what was happening in Sacramento, and nobody was telling their story. Nobody was telling. I mean, they were interviewing homeless people, but they weren't interviewing homeless people like I do. They weren't allowing them to tell their story. They're all spinning it for whatever ways. So at the same time, there was a day center. This is where I wish I had a little more time. There's wonderful photos of families and children I met. It's the first homeless services that invited me, right? So they said, we can't pay you, but we can put you up at, a Motel 6 and give you a little money for gas. So I went up. It was wonderful. At the same time, there was like a church group, same thing. We can't pay you, but we can take you to dinner and give you some money for gas. So I went, that almost gets me to Sacramento. I got $300. You know what? Screw it. I'm close to homelessness. I'm going to go to Sacramento and I'm going to tell the story of homelessness. So I took the $300, got a hotel room, and went to Sacramento. And it changed me, changed Invisible People. It was the first time I saw, all this is so common now, right? This is 2009. I saw like this different culture, this culture, almost underground, hidden culture of people surviving near the river. Often they had bikes and carts like this. It was scenes like, because I'd been to Africa a couple of times, and it was very similar to what I saw in Africa, but here it was America. Also saw for the first time people picking out of piles of garbage. It was the first time that I've seen any of this. Now, Skid Row in Los Angeles is what I'm used to, but I wasn't used to this out in the field. And what was interesting, so Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor, and I don't remember who the mayor was, but since Oprah went in, they felt it was, pie on their face, and they had to sweep all the homeless camps. And they say it was about 100 homeless people. The homeless people say it was about 400 people in the camp. Truth is probably in the middle. I would say 200 and 300. But then they were scattered out in the woods, scattered out everywhere. And crazy me, I go parading off in the woods with a camera. I'm the enemy, right? They don't know me as a good guy or a bad guy. They just think I'm CNN, right? But some of the images, and these are taken, I probably had an iPhone 3 or an iPhone 4. So this guy's name is James, and the police keep moving them. So he's building these carts so that he can move his stuff, right? He doesn't have money to go get a wagon at Home Depot or anything, right? He's building these carts. On one end, it's brilliant. It's brilliant that he's resourceful. On the other end, it's so sad that he has to do this. And then there's, oh my gosh, look at the society we're creating where you're just pushing homeless people around. And that was 2009, 2009. It's even worse today. So that kind of changed everything. Me going and telling these stories. In fact, Scott Harrison, who's the CEO of Charity Water, who I had met, he texts me and he says, "Hey, dude, what are you doing? Keep doing what you're doing. How do I donate? How do I donate?" And people started donating, and I made just enough to cover rent. And there was times that strangers paid for my rent, right? I didn't ask them to, right? And I'm not spooky. Wasn't an angel, wasn't some God thing. It was just somebody with compassion paid my rent, right? And I went home with just enough to pay rent, not enough for food. I was eating dollar pizzas from Ralph's back right? I didn't have enough for food, but I just had enough for rent. It was pretty simple math. If I traveled to help homeless people, I survived. Like I would have housing. If you go back through my Social Security, like Social Security sends you how much money you made that year. I think I made like 9,000 and rent is 24,000 or something. You know, I mean, I didn't, it's just, that's a miracle. I don't think it's a God thing. We could go into, you know, the whole God thing some other time, but it's just amazing that I continued to live and survive, and invisible people continued to live and survive. And at that time, so the woman's name is Heather, and the gentleman on my left arm, his name is John. Was at the time, both of them were executives at an app called Whirl. And I was using Whirl when I was going into Sacramento to tell the story of me, right? So invisible people is telling the story of homeless people, and I was using Whirl to tell the story of me. So Heather found it somehow, and they flew me up to Seattle. Again, I'm eating dollar pizzas. I got no money. I don't know where rent's coming from. And they're flying me up to Seattle. Literally, I didn't have money to eat on, right? So I land at the airport and they bring me in, but I had a catch. We had to go to Nicholsville. So Nicholsville is a tent city, infamous tent city in Sacramento, in Seattle, right? So I'll come up. And what they wanted was they wanted me to speak to their developers about how nonprofits are using their app, which was brilliant. But then I was able to visit Nicholsville, which was the first really organized tent city that I had ever, and some of these I was in real quick, probably didn't get them right. So Nicholsville, you know, visitors have to sign in. I mean, it's 100% run by homeless people. And visitors have to sign in. There's a volunteer tent. There's a food tent. It's pretty amazing organizations. I'm an old hippie, so I love this stuff. And I have a lot of old photos that I was going through of Nicholsville, but this one kind of reached out to me. Now, they had porta potties, but when they had to move, because the city would move them from time to time, this is what people used. How would you like to go there? And you know what I mean by go, right? But the whole thing just blew me away about, you know, how homeless people are trying to make their tent community a home. So if I was to look like Sacramento, so follow along here. Sacramento got the attention of Whirl, and Whirl flew me up to Seattle. And there's a guy named Chris Perillo. Wonderful, wonderful guy. Wonderful. And Chris Perillo had a very, very, well, let me start again. Chris Perillo, infamous for his work, technology and internet and everything. So Whirl had, I don't know if you remember these, they had a tweet up in their lobby, you know, really nice, you know, tech startup, Seattle, unbelievable views, wonderful, crazy wonderful. And so Whirl, and they're all excited. I remember Heather, Chris Perillo's coming, Chris Perillo's, you know, it's like, he's famous, and he is, I think he is. And so I did my presentation, and Chris calls me over after, and he says, what iPhone do you have? And the iPhone 6, I think that was the first one with video, just came out. And he says, you need video on your phone, on your phone. I'm going to buy you an iPhone 6. I don't know if it was a 6 or a 7 or which one, but it was the first one with video. Chris Perillo bought me the phone because he wanted me to have video on my phone. But here's the thing that changed my life, changed Invisible People. He runs a very eclectic event called Gnome Decks. I don't even know how to describe it, except it's like a technology geek smorgasbord conference. Just wonderful. And he asked me to speak. Oh God, I wish I had another 3 years to make this video because there's so much I could have added. So Chris invited me to speak, but I was on a road trip with Ford, which is another whole thing. That was pretty crazy. And so I parked in Greensboro, North Carolina, got on a plane. You know, Chris is paying for everything. Flew up to Seattle, stayed in a hotel, wonderful hotel, went to Gnome Decks, right? And my life changed. So there's other photos and videos I could have. This is the standing ovation. And while I was speaking, they passed a hat, and that's $1,500 that was raised that went to Nicholsville. So we paid for their porta potties, right? But what was really neat, and I wish I had the videos to help tell the story and the photos. So there was a homeless man at Nicholsville. His name was John. And I interviewed him and is on Invisible People. So I asked him if I could speak. So here's one of the things, and we're going to go into this in a little bit. And hopefully y'all still with me, or at least some of you. Well, Nichols, the gnome. Whenever I speak at an event, if I possibly can, and what's ironic is that it's easier to get a homeless person on the stage of a marketing event than it is at a homeless conference, because homeless conferences want to forget about homelessness, so they don't want a homeless person on stage. Anyways, I asked John if he would speak, and he said yes. And he wore a suit and tie. I didn't ask him to. He wore a suit and tie. So after I ended my video, or I ended my talk playing his video. And then when I got up, I ended my talk with his video. Then when I started the Q&A, I asked him to take the stage with me. And that made homeless trend on Twitter back when like trending actually mattered. And CNN, if you Google CNN, Mark Horvath, Gnome Decks, homeless, CNN validates that I got homeless to trend on Twitter internationally for like 10 minutes. It wasn't a huge amount of time, but it was still a miracle. And the reason is you had all these social media people that like just watched a video of a homeless person. Now he's on the stage and they're like tweeting, Facebooking, and it was like the shot heard around the world. It was unbelievable. Then, and I wish I had more time because Chris Brogan wrote, there was a book that Kevin Hendricks wrote that's just wonderful, and Chris Brogan did the foreword, and he describes how I'm going to describe this so perfectly. But like Chris Brogan had shoes, and Chris Brogan is a big deal, and in the lobby he took off the shoes and gave them to me. I didn't know who all these people are. Liz Strauss, Jeff Pulver. I mean, so many people just started supporting Invisible People. I mean, it was that moment that Invisible People started having real impact. We didn't start making money. I mean, this isn't about making money. I still didn't even have enough to pay myself a salary for another 8 years, right? But Invisible People started having tangible impact. So I'd mentioned already, and I wish I could have found more photos, or I did, but I didn't have the time. So I did a road trip with Ford, and Ford put all of our videos for 2 years on their website. I did a couple of road trips. What's really great about this road trip is at the time there was a movie company. So this was just after, this is 2009. There was a movie company that they are the ones that came to me, and they're going to wrap an RV, put decals around it. They're going to wrap an RV and have me drive around the country. And I said, yes. But then because of the economy, they had to cancel. And so by now I had made some arrangements to speak around the country. And I like to keep my word, and I didn't have a car that I could drive around the country. And I saw Ford was doing a road trip, like the honeymoon road trip. There was a couple, right? So I reached out to Scott Monte. Scott Monte was the social media person at Ford. And I said, Scott, if you lend me a car, just lend me a car. I'll pay for the gas. I'll do the oil changes. Just lend me a car, and I will help Ford sell cars, right? And he did. They lent me a car, and then he made this web page for us. I ended up doing an electric car. I did 2 road trips with Ford, one with General Motors, one around Canada even, and then one with an electric car, a hybrid with Ford from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. All just brilliant, 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 brilliant. And then in 2010, YouTube gave us their homepage for a day. I don't have many regrets in life, but I wish I had paid more attention to YouTube back then, because we had 20,000 subscribers for 8 years after this, right? It's like YouTube staff used to tell me, oh, you're a nonprofit. 20,000 is more than all the rest. You're doing great, right? But once I started paying attention to YouTube, now we have 1 million, thanks to all of you, right? I don't have many, many regrets, but that is one of the regrets that I have, is that I wish I had paid more attention to YouTube. So let me come and check out the chat room, see how you guys are all doing. How is everybody? This show, oh, let me get back to where it's my ugly face. Woo. Hey. How are you? Wow, 135. How many people have been with us from the beginning? Oh my gosh, I'm almost at 2 hours. Wow. Hey, Matthew. Wow, you guys have been here for 2. That's amazing. Thank you. Oh, 135 donations are coming in. Every amount counts. Thank you. Wow, Matthew, thank you. Hey, Billy T. I'm coming off a little bit of a cold, so sorry about the coughing. Thank you, Joshua. And let's go on. So I did the first part, winter shelter. Then I started to travel. So let's talk a little bit about traveling. This is Young in Greensboro. Remember when I said Nomedex flew me from Greensboro? I parked. Well, Greensboro also put me on the front page of their paper. And guess what happened? The community went and housed this woman and housed Young. That's right, because I put their videos up on YouTube. The Greensboro community the Greensboro community went and got them into housing. And that's not the first time it happened. And if I had more time, I would play a little bit more of this original video. So that's Donnie. And in Calgary, Canada, it was so cold. Oh my gosh, it was so cold. I almost begged the outreach team to take me back. I was freezing. We went down one more street, and here was Donnie underneath or on top of a heat grate. He'd been homeless for 17 years. So I put up his video, and the community went and found him and got him into housing 2 weeks later. It's also documented by CBC. So YouTube gets homeless man a flat, I think is the title of the article. But what's really, really behind the scenes funny is Donnie is Indigenous. And Donnie got a pet cat and just happened to be a wild cat, like real wild cat, like not like normal cat or an untamed cat, but like a small bobcat, right? And the bobcat had babies. So there's all these other bobcats. So the outreach workers used to like kind of like draw straws, if you will, like who's going to go over to visit Donnie's because there's all these bobcats running around. But also the same evening, it's kind of a miracle evening, I meet a man, Terry Pettigrew. Terry Pettigrew is 58 in this photo. He's homeless at 50 years old. He is homeless. I mean, he's homeless 50 years. He was homeless at 8 years old. So at the time, again, I don't have any income. I don't know where my next meal is coming from. Like when I travel and was doing this kind of stuff, people would buy me a meal. But when I'm back in LA, I had no income. So I was going through a lot of poor me's. And Terry's dying of stage 4 cancer. He's been homeless 50 years and he's in a homeless shelter. And he's encouraging me like a grandfather. I think if you go and watch his video, he's talking about polar bears and all kinds of different things, right? Just wonderful man, wonderful man. So the Calgary newspaper took the video. Like sometimes it might take me a week or months to put up a video, but he really impressed me that night. So I put up the video right away, and the Calgary paper went and put it on their homepage. This is Terry's brother who saw the video, who hadn't seen Terry in 38 years. Terry died shortly after this photo, but he died with family because of an Invisible People video. If you look at the Invisible People website, there is an email, a copy of an email that the brother's wife sent me, thanking me that they were able to spend some time with Terry before he passed, that they were able to reunite. And I went and visited them on one of my road trips around Canada and spent some time with them. I had mentioned Jeff Pulver. And Jeff Pulver is the gentleman next to me. Art D is the homeless woman. Jeff Pulver is just an amazing man, big heart. He used to run these conferences called 140 conferences. and their Twitter conferences, and he would have all kinds of eclectic people, many of them famous. But since I was doing this homeless thing, and I always took the stage with a homeless person. One of my favorites is Anne Marie. Anne Marie was living in an alley in Chicago. That's right. She is homeless, living in an alley in Chicago. There was women at the event who helped her get dressed. She didn't have shoes. This is a big lesson for me. So I'd never taken a homeless woman shoe shopping before. And Anne freaked out in the shoe store because there's too many choices. I mean, the anxiety. She lives in an alley. Here she's on like a celebrity, at this Hollywood party, right? But what was wonderful about this is I told Anne, nobody's going to know you're homeless unless you tell them. I wasn't going to say anything. Unless you tell them, nobody will know. It was a beautiful event, beautiful time.
Twitter is when it comes off the virtual world into the real world.
Anne Marie at Pad Chicago. This is an example of social media coming to real life.
Yes, I'm Anne Marie. I'm homeless in Chicago. I do not have internet. I go to the library. And I use Twitter as a tool. And it has helped tremendously as far as helping me improve myself and even others.
I feel great being here. I feel like a normal, successful person. I don't feel like a homeless person. Being able to come here and see everything and talk and share some of my story, it has just been truly amazing.
One of the reason that I do what I do is to break stereotypes. We are in the sleeping area of Path Achieve Glendale.
It's very open. It's not private at all. And so we have to be careful about.
So you guys saw Path Achieve the shelter earlier, so I cut that a little earlier, but I wanted to show a little bit of it again because that's a family shelter. Can you imagine living with your family in just those cubicles? Can you imagine? But that, and RD I took on the stage, Carrie, who might be even watching on the live chat as a homeless mom, went on the 140 stage with me. And we made history. I'm only to 2013, right? I haven't even gotten into, all the amazing stuff that we did 2014, 2015, last year, or whatever. I mean, it's just been an amazing, I'm gonna get emotional. It's been an amazing experience. Wow. So I'm going to end with one more story, and then I'll hang out with you guys a little bit more if you like. It has been a long stream, but I don't think it would. I got a bunch more, but no, we're not gonna. Let me find. Where was it? I know it's here. Oh, I got to tell this one. Two more stories. This one will be a short one. There's a woman, her name is Joni, and she's in Salt Lake City, and she she said something like, do you ever want to roll up a $5 bill out of an airplane and throw it out a window at a homeless person? And so I happened to see that tweet. I used to search homeless back then. And so I said, hey, let me know where you are and I'll be there to catch it. Right. And so she responded really great. She didn't know who I was or what was going on. She responded something like, you got to be following me on Twitter for me to do that. And then she went and looked at Invisible People website and she says, are you a homeless man doing this? Did you Google that? You did change my heart, everything. She went and started a website called $5 Paper Airplane, where she went out and interviewed homeless people. She gave them a $5 folded up paper airplane, and she went and interviewed them. Just amazing. But it would not be a 15-year or any anniversary without sharing why the 3 wishes. So hopefully I did this right. Yes. And I had them in wrong order. So I was speaking in Arkansas and they had billed it, homeless advocate, right? Whatever. And the whole city was there. It's an outdoor amphitheater. And homeless people started heckling me, right? Well, they were just asking questions out of their hurt. And some might think it was heckling. So I had a choice. I could either call security, have them removed, or doing what I did. And I don't have any experience doing this. I called them down and I interviewed them in front of the town. Like the mayor was there, everybody was there, right? Just amazing, right? I interviewed 2 or 3 homeless people in front of the town, just like I do on YouTube, but this was live. Oh my gosh, we should go on tour. Maybe that's a thing. Invisible People Live. So back then, I used to do the 3 wishes every now and then. I didn't do it all the time. And right at the end, Mike, who was running I give him the mic, and he says, we're not done. And he gives the cue, and everybody had written on cards what their 3 wishes were. I didn't know how powerful it was. I didn't know how powerful it was. At that event, the mayor started a housing program. If you watch the documentary on me, Mark Horvath documentary, that followed me the next year on a road trip, it highlights that we met that person. Like I went back and met him, and it was because of my work that he got housed, right? It was a very strange, wonderful, but strange. And we visit the farm and everything else. And the farm, there was a farmer that donated 40 acres of land. And these are youth from a homeless youth nonprofit or facility that are working on the farm during the summer. So that one event created a housing program, created a farm that's feeding the community. So, folks, that is 2008 to about 2012. Most of that, everything there is 2009 and 2010. Oh, I can't go back. We'll save it for, if you guys like this, hey, Anonymous, thank you for the donation. If you guys like this, I will do a series and we can do more history of invisible people. And I'll make sure to at least balance the the camera so it's level. Bailey, thank you. Addie, I don't know. I got something going on. I'm going to try to get back to a weekly live stream. I don't know if it'll be next week. This took me a very long time to produce. I literally worked on this, and there's still so much more that I could have done. I tweet this out. I feel sorry for the producer who's tasked with doing my documentary after I die. And I don't mean that in a morbid way. Alex, who does our mini documentaries, I'm always telling her that the most important documentary she's ever going to do is the one on me. Oh, I'm sorry they're doing these mid-roll ads. I won't select that again. Glad they allow it to skip. Just so you guys know, when we do monetize, and we don't do monetize all our videos, we just, but I do the skippable ads in the beginning. I hate ads. I really hate ads. Thank you, Pamela. I'm on the mends. Wendy, I'll look into it. Wow, we did a 2-hour stream. Yeah, Ria, I have it's kind of weird. Like you get a delay on video, but the chat is in real time, and then on the other window, I get real time video but delayed chat. And a couple of times I got ads. Thank you, Joe. You're very kind. Well, hey, it's a spam call. So, folks, it's been 2 hours. I want to thank all of you. I want to thank Addie. Hopefully it wasn't too bad, Addie. That's a weird comment. I was taking Mucinex, actually. I really am on the mend. I hate the feeling. It takes you a couple of days to like get back to normal. Thank you, Pamela. So, as I was saying, thank you all. Thank you, everybody that donated. Thank you, everybody that has supported Invisible People back then and today. Thank you, Lady T. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Addie. Hopefully it was, Addie only got insulted once. Thank you, Brenda. You like the history show. Thank you, Black Dove. Yeah, Addie was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful moderator. So when I'm doing this type of show where I'm showing photos and stuff, I can't see the chat all the time. So hey, Mexicali. Well, folks, I am gonna say good night, and I just think the world of you, and I'm grateful for all your support. Bye.